the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials.
Part of our bigger series looking at the democratization of filmmaking that's happening right now.
Right, a really interesting shift.
Definitely. You'll find links for more info, books, even some cool merch down in the description.
Thanks, Steph.
So, today, we're jumping into augmented reality, AR.
Yes, big topic.
We'll look at where it started, how it fits into immersive technology overall, its global impact, which is huge.
It really is.
And why it matters so much for the new Hollywood generation of creators.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just unpack it first. Simply put, AR it's layering digital content, images, info, interactive bits onto the real world you're seeing.
Right. Through your phone, mostly these days, or maybe special glasses, headsets.
Exactly.
But what's really fascinating is how old the idea is. It wasn't just invented last week.
Oh.
Way back 1901,
Yeah.
Frank Baum, the Wizard of Oz guy, he wrote another book, The Master Key, and described these character markers, special glasses you'd wear.
No way.
And they'd show you information about people you looked at, like their character. It's basically AR.
That's incredible. 1901.
Then jump to 1968, Ivan Sutherland. He built this head-mounted display, super early tech, really clunky.
Right, the pictures look wild.
So it was the first time computer graphics were actually overlaid onto someone's view of reality. A massive first step.
So the seeds were planted early, and then the actual research, you mentioned the 80s.
Yeah, that's when it started getting more practical traction.
Yeah.
They're doing research using visual cues,
Yeah.
almost like digital breadcrumbs in the sky,
Okay.
to help train pilots and simulators. How to land better, add digital guides to what they see.
It sends learn faster.
Exactly. Then the 90s, you get pioneers like Steve Mann. He was huge in wearable computing. iTap.
iTap.
Yeah, think of like a camera system that messes with the light going into your eye to overlay digital info. Pretty wild concept back then.
So we're moving from just ideas to actual hardware experiments.
Precisely. And it wasn't just lab curiosities.
Yeah.
Early 90s, we start seeing real applications, like 1993, using map overlays for space surveillance.
Tracking satellites and stuff.
Yep, and space debris. And around the same time, 92, this idea of virtual fixtures for controlling robots remotely.
Virtual fixtures, like digital tools.
Kind of
Yeah.
overlaying guides or virtual tools onto the remote view to help the operator be more precise.
Okay, that's clever.
And then late 90s, early 2000s, you start seeing the very first bits of AR on handhelds as phones got, a bit smarter. It was a slow build.
Absolutely. It's got this surprisingly deep history. Okay, so let's position AR as part of this bigger thing, immersive technology, right? We hear VR, Mr. War. How do they relate?
Yeah, good question. Helps to frame it. The GAO Government Accountability Office looked into this, lumped AR, VR, and MR together as immersive tech.
Okay.
A good way to think about it is like a spectrum, the reality-virtuality continuum.
A continuum.
Yeah. One end is just plain reality. The other end is a totally computer-generated world. That's VR, virtual reality.
Right. Total immersion.
AR sits much closer to the real-world end. It adds digital stuff to your reality, enhances it.
Got it.
Mixed reality, or MR, tries to go further. It wants the digital objects to seem like they're really there, interacting with your real environment.
Like a virtual ball bouncing off my actual desk.
Exactly like that, where the digital and real really seem to mix and react to each other.
Okay, that clarifies things. AR enhances, VR replaces, MR blends. So how do we actually see this augmented world? Glasses, headsets, anything else?
Well, glasses are the obvious one, right? Trying to make them look normal, but project images. Lots of work happening there, still evolving.
Yeah, feels like we're always waiting for the perfect pair.
Then there are contact lenses. Mojo Vision had a working prototype back in 2020, which was pretty cool, worked without glasses. But others tried before and didn't quite get there.
AR contact lenses.
Wow. And then there's virtual retinal displays, VRDs.
Okay, what's that?
Imagine a tiny projector, sort of, inside your eye, painting the image right onto your retina.
Whoa, directly onto the retina.
Yeah. The potential upsides are big brightness, resolution, contrast. Could be amazing. And interestingly, some studies showed people with certain vision issues found VRD images clearer.
That sounds completely sci-fi. So cool, though. Okay, let's peek under the hood slightly. How does the tech actually work? How does it know where to put the digital stuff so it, sticks to the real world?
Basically, it's a two-step process, generally speaking. First, the system's camera looks at the world and needs to find points of interest.
Like what?
Corners,
Yeah.
specific markers it's been told to look for, maybe just distinct blobs or edges. Or It tracks how things move, that's optical flow.
Okay, finding anchor points.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, step 2 is figuring out the 3D shape of the real world from that 2D camera image. It uses stuff like projective geometry.
Maths.
Lots of maths. And if it doesn't know the scene beforehand, it might use something called SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping.
SLAM. I've heard of that, like robot vacuums use it.
Exactly. It builds a map as it moves, figuring out where it is within that map.
Right.
Or it might use structure for motion, figuring out the 3D shape by watching how things move as the camera moves.
Okay, so find features, then figure out the 3D space to place the augmentation. Got it. Now, the exciting bit, where are we actually using AR right now? It feels like it's everywhere suddenly.
It really is spreading out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take education and training first. Huge area.
Like for kids.
Yeah, interactive learning, like seeing 3D models of constellations appear on the ceiling or making science pictures turn into like little videos.
That's cool.
There was a Kickstarter, Light Up, an AR toy to teach electronics, showed virtual circuits. Japan's used AR textbooks. And then high-end stuff like flight simulators, medical training.
Anatomy 4D, I think I've seen that app.
Yeah, and safety training like virtual fire drills. Even training for mine rescue teams using special platforms. It spans all levels.
Incredible range. What about, say, museums, art galleries?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Enhancing visits, interactive exhibits. MoMA in New York did AR stuff where you'd point your phone at a painting.
And see extra info.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
hidden layers, artists' notes, that kind of thing. Like a digital guide right there.
Adds a whole new layer. Okay. Commerce. Shopping. That feels like a big one.
Huge. Integrating print ads with video. Virtual try-on is getting big clothes, makeup.
See how it looks without trying it on.
Yep. And 3D product viewers. You mentioned IKEA Play, seeing how furniture looks in your room.
Yes, that app is genius.
Totally. Shopify has tools for it, too. Really changes online shopping, especially for big items.
Takes the guesswork out. I also saw stuff about emergency response. How's AR used there?
Yeah, in critical situations. For, like, drone operators in search and rescue, it can overlay map data, road names, onto the video feed.
So they know exactly where they're looking.
Right. Better situational awareness. SmartCam 3D is one system. Even the U.S. Forest Service uses it for wildfire planning and response. Instant visual data overlaid can be crucial.
Makes total sense. Life-saving potential there. And healthcare, you mentioned medical training, but what about during procedures?
Oh, absolutely transformative. Planning surgeries, practicing them, giving surgeons like virtual X-ray vision during an operation.
Wow.
Visualizing tumors during endoscopy, understanding radiation risk, even enhancing how you view fetal ultrasounds, guiding laparoscopic liver surgery.
So much precision.
Exactly. And outside surgery, treating phobias, medication reminders, training with things like Microsoft's HoloLens for surgery practice. It's giving doctors enhanced senses almost.
Superhuman vision, practically. What about military, aerospace?
Military's been looking at it for ages. Battlefield data on soldiers' goggles for situational awareness, helping drone operators see more.
Right.
NASA used it too. Hybrid vision systems for spacecraft navigation, overlaid map data on video for the X-38 shuttle prototype, and even for designing space habitats.
So from battlefields to outer space, it's really versatile.
It is. And think about broadcast live events.
Oh, yeah, the yellow first down line in football.
Yeah.
Classic AR.
Exactly. That was one of the first really mainstream uses. Weather forecasts use it a lot, too.
Those 3D weather maps.
Yep. Sports are full of it now. Ads overlaid, tracking hockey pucks, race cars, showing snooker ball paths.
Even concerts, right. Lyrics or effects.
Yeah, music performances are using it more. Visual effects synced to the music, lyrics floating in the air. Adds another layer for the audience.
Enhances the spectacle. What about just everyday stuff, getting around? Tourism.
Navigation, definitely. Some map apps give you directions using arrows overlaid on your camera view.
Oh, yeah, Google Maps does that.
Location-aware audio telling you about landmarks as you pass. And translation apps like WordLens point your phone at a sign in another language.
And it translates it right on the screen. Super useful for travel.
Totally. And bringing history to life, imagine seeing a virtual reconstruction of ancient ruins overlaid on the real thing.
That would be amazing. I've even heard about niche things like music creation, smart homes.
Yeah, people are exploring AR interfaces for making music, DJing, new ways to interact with digital tools, and controlling smart home devices via AR. Point your phone at a light to turn it on. Still early days for that, though.
And the elephant in the room. Social media, filters.
Massive. Filters and lenses on Snapchat, Instagram, they've made AR mainstream for millions.
Just for fun, mostly.
Mostly fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Entertainment, creativity, interaction, self-expression. That study you mentioned looked at teens.
Right, the Cogitadio Press one.
Found it can help connection, self-esteem sometimes, but also downsides, time suck, frustration, social pressure, and influencers play a big role in what filters get popular.
It's a double-edged sword, like a lot of social media tech.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, from serious applications to fun filters, AR is woven into life now.
It really is. Okay, let's pull this back to our main theme. Democratization of filmmaking, the new Hollywood generation. How does AR fit in there?
Well, the key thing is accessibility. Just like digital cameras and cheap editing software opened up filmmaking.
Lowered the barrier to entry.
Exactly. AR tools and platforms are starting to do the same for creating immersive experiences. This new Hollywood generation, they're digital natives. They can grab these tools
And run with them.
and make totally new kinds of stories. Visual effects blended with reality, engaging audiences in ways beyond just watching a flat screen. It's about crafting experiences now.
So filmmaking expands beyond the rectangle. It becomes about building worlds, experiences.
Precisely. Not just telling a story, but maybe letting the audience step into it in a way.
Are we seeing this actually happen in entertainment yet?
We're seeing the beginnings. Experiments in theaters with AR overlays, interactive bits in movies. Gaming, of course, is way ahead here, blending digital and physical play.
Right, games like Pokemon Go were huge early examples.
For sure. AR gives creators this whole new canvas. The possibilities for storytelling are just starting to be explored.
Which sounds incredibly exciting,
Yep.
but it must raise some big questions for these new creators, right? It's uncharted territory.
Absolutely. For the new Hollywood generation, there are some pretty fundamental questions like, how do you really use AR to tell stories differently, not just as a gimmick?
Good point.
What are the ethics of blending realities like this in entertainment? How do indie creators use AR to compete with big studios? What new business models work for this stuff?
Yeah, how do you even sell an AR experience?
And how do you use it to make audiences feel more connected, more involved? Plus, thinking back to those social media filters.
The potential downsides.
Right. How do creators make AR entertainment that's engaging but also responsible, mindful of the impact it can have on perception, maybe even well-being?
Those are heavy questions and crucial ones. So what are the potential pathways forward? Solutions, areas to focus on?
Well, one big thing is just better, easier tools, making AR creation less technically difficult, more intuitive for artists.
Democratizing the tools themselves.
Exactly. We probably also need some shared understanding, maybe ethical guidelines or best practices for AR content, especially as it gets more realistic.
Makes sense.
New ways to distribute these experiences might be needed, beyond just app stores, platforms designed for AR.
Okay.
And creatively, focusing on real interactivity, making the audience active participants, not just passive viewers.
Giving them agency in the story.
Yeah. And finally, just education, making sure creators understand the psychology, the social side of what they're building with AR, being innovative and responsible.
It's this mix of tech, art, ethics, a really dynamic space. This has been incredibly insightful. AR is clearly more than just a gadget trend. It feels genuinely transformative.
It really does.
Especially for this new Hollywood generation ready to reshape entertainment.
Which brings us to a final thought, maybe a question for them, for you listening.
Okay.
Considering AR's power to blend the real and digital, how it can enhance but also maybe complicate how we see things.
Yeah.
What fundamental shifts in storytelling and how audiences engage do you think this tech will ultimately demand in the years ahead?
Wow. A profound question indeed. Something for the new Hollywood generation and all of us to really think about. If you're intrigued, definitely check out the links in the description for more. Keep exploring the future of immersive entertainment.
You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.